Have you ever sat at the dinner table with someone you love and noticed that the same plate of food gives them a completely different experience? Maybe you take a bite and feel comforted while they take the same bite and later pay the price with pain, fatigue, or that awful dryness in the mouth and eyes. It almost feels unfair, doesn't it? Two people, but a difference in conditions like Sjogren's and Lupus, and yet the body reacts so differently. And here's the thing. When it comes to autoimmune diseases, especially for seniors, food isn't just about taste or filling the stomach. Food can be medicine, or it can quietly act like poison. And when you're the one caring for a loved one, or even managing your own condition, you know that every single bite matters. Think about it. Imagine your mother, your grandfather, or maybe even yourself, feeling worn down by constant fatigue, sore joints that make even simple movements painful, or that relentless dryness that never seems to ease up. These aren't just little discomforts. They affect dignity, independence, and quality of life. And that's why this conversation matters so much. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the ultimate diet guide for Sjogren's and Lupus. Not just random lists of foods you've seen on Google, but real, practical advice that explains why certain meals help one condition and hurt the other. You'll discover the best foods to eat, the foods to avoid, and a surprising truth about one common food that so many families get wrong. And trust me, what I'll share at the very end is one of those things you've probably overlooked, but it can change everything. But before we dive in, I want to hear from you, because your story matters. Have you or someone you love ever struggled with lupus or Sjogren's? Type yes in the comments if you can relate. It might just encourage someone else who's going through the same thing right now. And of course, if you're new here, welcome to Senior Diet Tips. This is where we focus on health, nutrition, and care that truly makes a difference in the later years of life. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, because the guidance you find here may be exactly what you or someone you love needs to live with more comfort, strength, and dignity. Let's start with something that sounds simple, but is often misunderstood: hydration. Picture this. You're sitting with your grandmother, and you notice she's always reaching for her water glass. She drinks, sets it down, and just a few minutes later, she's reaching for it again. You might think, well, at least she's staying hydrated. But then she tells you her mouth still feels dry, her throat's scratchy, and food feels harder to swallow. That's a classic sign of Sjogren's. The body isn't just thirsty, it's struggling because the salivary glands themselves have been damaged by the condition. So no matter how much water is poured down, it doesn't always fix the problem. Now, for lupus, the situation can look very different. Someone with lupus may actually have issues with fluid retention, especially if the kidneys are affected. So while one person needs more hydrating foods, another has to be careful not to overload their system with too much fluid at once. This is why diet isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It has to be tailored. And here's the common mistake. Families often believe that simply drinking more water is the solution. They'll say, "Here, drink another glass," thinking that's all there is to it. But here's the truth. Water alone doesn't always help. What really makes the difference are hydration-friendly foods. Foods like cucumbers, oranges, melons, and even soups that are light but full of water. For someone with Sjogren's, these foods can add gentle, natural moisture that plain water sometimes can't provide. Herbal teas are another wonderful option. They hydrate, soothe, and in some cases, even calm inflammation. But for lupus, you need balance. Too much fluid at once can put extra stress on the kidneys if they're already weakened. That's why the key isn't just more, it's the right amount in the right way. Small, steady hydration throughout the day, paired with water-rich foods, can be far more effective than pushing glass after glass of water. So next time you see a loved one struggling with dryness, don't just hand them another cup of water. Instead, think about what's on their plate. Offer them slices of orange, a bowl of broth-based soup, or even a cucumber salad. Those small choices can add up to real relief. But hydration isn't the only concern. What about inflammation? Because dryness may be uncomfortable, but inflammation, that's what steals energy, damages joints, and leaves seniors feeling like their bodies are constantly under attack. Let's talk about that. I once heard a story about a man with lupus who decided to change just one thing in his diet. He added salmon to his meals twice a week. Nothing dramatic, just a simple swap. And within a few weeks, he noticed something incredible. His joint swelling calmed down, his stiffness lessened, and he felt a little more like himself again. Now, why did that happen? It comes down to omega-3 fatty acids. These are the healthy fats found in foods like salmon, mackerel, walnuts, chia seeds, and flax oil. They're powerful anti-inflammatories. And for someone with lupus, where the immune system is constantly misfiring and creating painful inflammation, omega-3s can be like putting water on a fire. They help reduce that systemic inflammation and give the body a chance to recover. And here's where it gets even more interesting. These same healthy fats can also help people with Sjogren's. Not only can they reduce fatigue, but they may also support moisture levels and help with that persistent dryness. But here's the big misconception. So many seniors are afraid of fats. They grew up in the low-fat era, when fat was demonized and everything was labeled fat-free. So they think, if I eat more fat, won't it be bad for my heart? Won't it make me gain weight? But the truth is, healthy fats are not the enemy. Processed oils, fried foods, and trans fats are harmful, but omega-3s are healing. This is where families can really step in and make a difference. Instead of frying foods in vegetable oil, try baking salmon with a drizzle of olive oil. Instead of reaching for cookies, offer a small handful of walnuts. Instead of skipping fats altogether, add ground flaxseed to a morning smoothie. These changes aren't complicated, but they're powerful. So remember this. Healthy fats are your friend when it comes to fighting inflammation. They don't just protect the body. They give it the strength to keep going. Still, even the healthiest fats can't protect against one sneaky enemy, sugar. Still, even the healthiest fats can't protect against one sneaky enemy, sugar. Let me tell you a story. A woman with lupus once shared that every time she attended family gatherings, she'd let herself indulge. Just a slice of cake here, a few cookies there. Nothing extreme. But the next morning, she'd wake up stiff, aching, and so exhausted that even getting out of bed felt like a battle. She thought it was just coincidence, but over time she noticed a pattern. Each sweet indulgence came with a painful price. And here's why. Processed sugar and refined carbohydrates set off alarm bells in the body. They spike inflammation, trigger fatigue, and for lupus patients, they can worsen flares dramatically. For those with Sjogren's, sugar isn't much kinder. It can intensify that already frustrating dryness in the mouth and eyes. Add in nightshade vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants, and for some people, the inflammation only gets worse. But here's the misconception that so many families fall into. They think, it's just a little treat, it won't matter. But with autoimmune conditions, even small amounts can create big reactions. What seems harmless in the moment, a piece of candy, a glass of soda, or a slice of bread, can lead to hours or even days of discomfort afterward. So what can you do instead? It doesn't mean you or your loved one has to give up every joy of eating. It means being smarter about the choices. Instead of processed sweets, reach for berries. They're naturally sweet, packed with antioxidants, and they don't spike inflammation. Instead of white flour, experiment with almond or coconut flour for baking. Instead of soda, try sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon. Small swaps like these protect the body without stripping away enjoyment. But here's something important to remember. Avoiding foods alone isn't enough. You can cut out sugar, processed carbs, or nightshades, but that's only one side of the equation. What really makes the difference is not just what you remove, but what you add in to protect and strengthen the body. Which brings me to the next point, immune-boosting foods. I once heard about a senior who began making one small change, adding leafy greens to every single meal. Sometimes it was spinach in an omelet, other times kale in a soup, or a simple side salad at dinner. After a few weeks, he reported something remarkable. His fatigue lessened, his mood lifted, and he felt just a little stronger than before. It wasn't magic. It was nutrition working the way it's meant to. You see, foods rich in vitamins and antioxidants are like armor for the immune system. Leafy greens like spinach, Kale and collards bring iron and folate. Broccoli delivers vitamin C, which supports immune defense. Citrus fruits like oranges and grapefruits do the same. And for lupus patients, vitamin D is especially critical since many avoid the sun because of photosensitivity. Without enough vitamin D, the immune system weakens, bones become fragile, and fatigue worsens. That's why adding foods like fortified cereals, fatty fish, and even mushrooms can make a real difference. But here's the trap many fall into. They rely only on supplements. Pills alone. They think, I'll just take vitamin C and vitamin D in capsule form, and I'm good. But here's the truth. Whole foods often deliver nutrients in ways that supplements can't replicate. The body absorbs and uses them better when they come from natural sources. Supplements can help, but they should never replace a diet rich in real, nutrient-dense foods. So here's a practical way to make it work: smoothies. Blend spinach with oranges, chia seeds, and a little almond milk, and you got a powerhouse drink packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Easy to digest, easy to prepare, and nourishing in every sip. But here's where things get tricky, because while some foods are celebrated for their health benefits, they don't work the same way for everyone. In fact, one of the most debated foods can either help or hurt, and that food is dairy. This is a question I hear all the time from seniors. Can I still enjoy milk, cheese, or yogurt? And the answer isn't simple. For some people with lupus, dairy can worsen inflammation. They'll notice joint pain or fatigue gets worse after a cheesy meal. But for those with Sjogren's, dairy isn't always the villain. In fact, yogurt, with its probiotics, can actually support gut health, which is deeply connected to the immune system. And that's where families often get stuck. Because the biggest misconception is thinking that what works for one person will automatically work for another. But autoimmune conditions don't play by the same rules. Each body responds differently. So here's the best approach: test tolerance slowly. Replace cow's milk with almond, oat, or soy milk, and see how the body responds. For yogurt, try plain Greek yogurt with live probiotics and watch carefully. Does it bring relief, or does it trigger discomfort? This gentle trial and error process is often the only way to discover what really works for you or your loved one. And I know, this can feel overwhelming. So many foods to add, so many foods to avoid, and so much uncertainty about what will actually make a difference. But this is exactly where I want to pause and share something important, because behind all these choices lies one emotional truth that every family needs to hear. Watching someone you love struggle with fatigue, with constant dryness, or with painful flares, it's heartbreaking. You feel helpless. You see the frustration in their eyes, and you wish there was something more you could do. And that's why food matters so much more than most people realize. Because while diet may seem small compared to the weight of an illness like lupus or Sjogren's, those small choices add up. They can ease discomfort, restore energy, and in many cases, bring real relief. Instead of fearing every meal, instead of wondering, will this hurt or will this help? Think of diet as a tool, not just a routine, not just calories on a plate, but a way of showing love and care every single day. When you prepare a meal for your mother, your spouse, or even yourself, you're not just feeding the body. You're giving comfort, protection, and dignity. And here's where I want to encourage you. Don't feel like you have to change everything at once. That can be overwhelming. Start small. This week, swap just one food. Replace soda with herbal tea. Trade red meat for salmon. Add a handful of spinach to your lunch, or swap processed snacks for a bowl of fresh berries. These little changes may not seem like much at first, but over time, they could transform the way you or your loved one feels. Small choices, repeated consistently, build into big results. And please remember this: you can't control the illness. You can't take away every symptom, every flare, or every moment of fatigue. But you can control the care you give, the comfort you provide, and the hope you carry forward through food and awareness. And sometimes that makes all the difference in how the later years are lived. So let's bring it all together. To recap, hydration foods can ease dryness, anti-inflammatory fats protect against painful swelling, Cutting out triggers like sugar and refined carbs prevents flares. Immune-boosting foods strengthen the body, and dairy, well, that one depends on the individual, and it must be approached carefully. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these foods have you or your loved ones tried? Did they bring relief, or did they make symptoms worse? Share your experiences in the comments. Your story might be the very thing that gives someone else hope or helps them make the right choice for their own family. And if this video has helped you, if it's given you clarity or comfort, then subscribe to Senior Diet Tips. This is where we focus on the real conversations around elderly care and nutrition, the ones that can change lives in small but powerful ways. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the guidance that could make a difference for you or someone you love. Thank you for being here, thank you for caring, and thank you for being part of this community. Stay strong, stay informed, and stay hopeful. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.